Hi, welcome back to Kalike. In this series of entrance exam solving numericals, we'll talk a little bit more about Lamis theorem. Lamis theorem is very useful when it comes to solving problems in electrostatics. So if there are three concurrent forces acting at a particular point or a particular charge, then how do you find the forces? How are these forces related to each other is what is Lamis theorem. So I'll just give you the Lamis theorem. We are not going to derive it. We don't need it here. It's just a tip in case you come across a numerical on Lamis theorem, you should know the formula. Apart from that, today we will also take up some more numericals on electrostatics, especially related to Coulomb's law and electric field. And here we will discuss a lot of conceptual numericals rather than just mathematical numericals, where you do less mathematics but a lot of clear conceptual understanding is required to solve these kind of numericals. These may generally when you read the questions, they seem to be very straightforward and the answer looks very simple and easy, and you feel why did they even give such a easy question in the entrance examinations. But most of the times it is not so. A deep understanding of the concept is required, and the answer might not be the same that you are guessing as the right answer. So it is essential you understand the concepts well. That is why most of my videos on theory related are very long, because concepts are very crucial. They need to be deeply rooted in your brains to answer these kind of analytical questions. So let's get started with Lamis theorem. Imagine if you have three concurrent forces like this acting at a point where the angle between F1 makes an angle of this is the alpha. F1 makes an angle of alpha with F force F2, and it makes an angle beta with F3, whereas the angle between F2 and F3 is gamma. Then how are these forces related according to Lamis theorem? According to Lamis theorem, the net force acting on the particle due to all the three is 0. That is first point. Second, how else they are related? F divided by sine alpha is equal to F2 and divided by sine beta. In other words, this is also equal to F3 divided by sine gamma. We are not going to derive it. It's not our here especially. But when when we reach a problem where we have to use this and derivation as required, if it is essentially required, I'll certainly derive it. But not here in this case we do not require it. So this is how it is. You can also write it as, if you cross multiply, it will be F1 sine beta is nothing but F2 sine alpha. Similarly, you can cross multiply. You can also have a relationship F1 sine gamma is equal to F3 sine alpha. Similarly, F2 sine gamma is equal to F3 sine beta. So these are the relations. So if gamma, beta, alpha are given, it is easy to figure out the forces. So these are very essential and important numericals. So this is something that you must know. Well, now we are going to take up numericals. This one is a very interesting numerical, very different from what we have done so far. Let's see what it has to say. Two fixed charges. There are two fixed charges, plus 4q plus q. They are positive, so there is a repulsive force. There are 3 meter apart. Okay, fair enough. The point between the charges. Okay, you have to find a point between the charges where a third charge plus q, another positive charge, must be placed to keep it in equilibrium. So this is the scenario. So there are two charges, plus 4q, and okay, let's elongate so it is clearly visible. Imagine they are 3 meter apart. This distance is 3 meters apart, and here is your plus 4q charge, and here is your plus q charge. You have to find a point on this between the charges. It says in between the charges where a third charge plus q must be placed, and you have to ensure that so that this plus q stays in equilibrium due to these two. Okay, it doesn't move anywhere. It doesn't, it chooses, even if you keep it in a midpoint, if this has a greater force, repulsive force, so it will definitely move away from the charge, and this has a lesser repulsive force, it may stay closer, it may experience a less repulsive force due to this. So obviously the charge will be away from 4q, because the magnitude of the force exerted by plus q, since it has a greater amount of charge, 4 times greater than this charge, it will move away. It will not settle down closer to it or in the midpoint. If it would come in the midpoint if the magnitude of the charges were equal, but these are unequal charges. This being greater in magnitude, obviously this charge will stay a little bit away. It will experience a greater repulsive force. Here also it will be experiencing a greater repulsive force, but it still finds out a way to stay in between the charges. Now suppose if one charge was positive and another charge was negative, what will happen? It would if this is positive and negative, due to this it would experience a repulsive force, and due to the other one it would experience let's say an attractive force. In such cases, such scenarios can also be given. Sometimes you might be given a scenario where you will not be allowed to keep the point charge in between the line joining the charges. It may be outside the charge somewhere here. It could be a triangle or somewhere, or it could be closer to the other charge. So these complications may arise, but this is the simplest that you could have. Okay, so they are 3 meter apart. Now we have to figure out the distance from one of these charges. So let me call this charges whatever it is, q1 and q2. So therefore let this distance be x meter. Okay, from 4q charge, it is at a distance, I assume the unknown distance to be x meter. So what will be the remaining distance? You have to cut this part out of 3. So this will become, this remaining distance will be 3 minus x meter, right? 3 meters plus minus, you have to do this, cut this, so you will get to know the rest of the part, right? Now it is very simple, easy. Let's write our Coulomb's law equation. So what does your Coulomb's law equation say for F1? Okay, so I would call this as F1 between 4q and q. So k into, what are the charges? The charges are 4q multiplied by q. What is the distance of separation between these two charges? That is x square. Similarly, what will be F2? F2 is between these two charges. So k into, both charges have the same magnitude, q multiplied by q is q square, divided by, what is the distance of separation? The distance of separation is 3 minus x whole square. Now for the charge to stay in equilibrium, both the forces exert have to be equal, right? Both have to be equal, only then this will stay in equilibrium. For equilibrium, right? For equilibrium short form is how I'm writing like this. If you want, you can write it elaborate. I'm just trying to save this space here. So for equilibrium, forces have to be equal. F1 has to be equal to F2. So that implies you have k, what is it? 4q into q square is 4q square. Okay, fair enough. Divided by x square is equal to k q square whole divided by 3 minus x the whole square. K gets cancelled, q square gets cancelled. This, if you take the square root, okay, let's take the square root. Now what remains? 4 divided by x square is equal to, you have nothing in the numerator, it's all cancelled. So 1 divided by 3 minus x the whole square. So if you take square root on both sides, what will happen? This can be written as 4 can be written as 2 the whole square. So square and root, and here square and root, everything gets cancelled. You remain with 2 divided by x is equal to 1 divided by 3 minus x, right? Simple. Now just cross multiply this. So 2 times 3 minus x is equal to, cross multiply, 1 times x is x. So 2 times 3 is 6 minus 6x is equal to x. Send this x on the other side. So 6 is equal to, oh sorry, it's not 6x. I'm sorry. So this will be 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times x is 2x. So 6 minus 2x is equal to x. So therefore 6 is equal to, let's send the 2x on the other side. So what will happen? It will become plus 2x plus x, which is nothing but 3x. So therefore what will be the value of x? X will be 6 divided by 3, which is nothing but 2. So x is 2 meters. So you have placed it at a distance of 2 meters away from charge for q. So what will be this distance? This distance will be from the second charge, it is at a distance of 3 minus x, x is 2, 3 minus 2 is 1 meter. So this is away at 2 meters and this is just 1 meter away. So they can also choose the charge and ask you, they may say, at what distance would you like to keep it from, the second charge or the first charge, but then assumptions may vary, but this will be the answer. So the answer is yes, A is equal to 2 meter. No matter what they ask you, this will be the answer, because even if they ask you at what distance do you keep the charge from the second charge, it will still be 1 meter, because 4q is a greater charge, so greater repulsive force, therefore it stays away, it tends to stay away from q rather than plus q. So as simple as that. It may look like complicated, but it is not. Now it's time to take conceptual numericals, which will test your understanding of the theory. Well, time to take a conceptual numerical. It may really feel simple and you might guess the answer, but then you will be surprised to see what you guessed is not the same thing as what we must understand. Okay, one metallic sphere A is given a positive charge, whereas another identical metallic sphere B of exactly same mass as of A is given an equal amount of negative charge. So there are two spheres, okay, sphere A and sphere B. Both are identical, or they both have the same mass. Okay, the masses are same and the spheres are identical. So what are you doing? You are giving positive charge to A. So you are giving it excess of positive charge. When it's giving excess of positive charge means you are removing electrons. Electrons are removed from A. Only then there will be excess of positively charged particles. Now, you are giving an equal amount of negative charge here, so you are adding electrons. I mean, you cannot remove positively charged particles, but you can always remove electrons and add electrons. So 6, 6, 8, 6, 6, 8. So you are adding equal. So what are you doing here? Electrons are added. More electrons are added. Okay, so this is something that you need to understand. Once they say it is positively charged or is given a positive charge, how can you cannot really give a positive charge. If you want that object to be, or point object to be positively charged, you literally have to remove the electrons. Removing the electrons gives it a excess of positive charge. So it is only electrons that flow, right? Electrons can either be removed or you can even add them. So excess of electrons, some electrons are removed. Here you are adding extra electrons, giving it a net negative charge and giving it a net positive charge. Okay, now there are some conditions. So what will happen after doing this process? Will the mass of A be same as the mass of B? Okay, will the mass of A increase, or will the mass of B decrease? Will the mass of B increases? Now you might feel you have added excess, some of you might feel it would still be the same, because you're adding equal amount of electrons and you have removed equal amount of electrons here. When do these charges remain the same? They say it is given, you are giving an equal amount of negative charge, which means you have removed equal amount of electrons from here. So some electrons are removed. What is the mass of each electron? It is 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31. Of course it is 2 mini-mole, so many kgs. So these many, so 6 many, if you have removed 6 or 8 many electrons, 8 times this times the mass is reduced. If you are adding 8 more electrons, it is 8 into 10, 9.1 into 10 to the power of minus 31 kg is added, right? So 8 electrons into their masses you are adding, and 8 electrons into their masses you are removing to ensure that it has equal number of excess of positive charge if you want it to be positively charged, right? So what should be your answer? The mass of B has to increase, because here it is being added, here it's been removed. So if you thought initially when you read the question the mass of A should be same as mass of B, then your answer is wrong. The answer should be mass of B has to increase because of addition of electrons. Mass of A has to decrease. So if they had an option mass of A decreases, that is also the right option, but mass of B increases. And one more numerical on quantization of charge. Let's see. When 10 power 14 electrons are removed from a neutral metal sphere, you are removing electrons, that means it's positively charged. Then the charge on the sphere becomes, so what will be the, obviously it has to be positive charges. So you can rule out these answers, right? Because you are removing electrons, so it has to be either of these. you're removing the electrons, so therefore you're potentially charging it to positive charge. You are giving it a net amount of positive, because the number, if electrons are removed, then there will be an increase in the number of positively charged particles. So the answer has to be, it is a positively charged. So these answers can be easily removed. You have to choose between these two. What's the formula? We know Q is equal to N into E. You have to calculate N. You have to calculate the total charge on it. So how many electrons have been removed? 10 to the power of 14 electrons have been removed. What is the charge on each electron? It is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. So now 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 plus 14 is 10 power minus 5, but you have to keep it in terms of 16. So you have to shift it to one decimal to the right. So you are shifting one decimal to the right. This becomes 16 into, what will happen to the power of 10 if you shift to the right? The power of 10 decreases. When I say decreases, you have to show a minus sign here. How much does it decrease? We are shifting one decimal place, it decreases by one decimal. So 10 power minus 1 into 10 to the power of minus 5, which is nothing but 16 into 10 to the power of minus 6 coulomb, which is nothing but 10 power minus 6 is 16 microcoulomb, and definitely it is positive because you are removing electrons. So the right answer is 16 microcoulomb. So these kind of numericals, if you know the formula and if you understand the concept well, potentially to confuse you, they have particularly given plus and minus symbols in the answers, because they want you to know when you remove an electron from a particular point object, what will happen? It will be potentially positively charged. So positively charged is the extraction of electrons from that particular metal. So if you know the formula, you can directly do it. If you know how to shift the decimals, know the thumb rule that I've been teaching you since all my sessions, then you can figure out the answer. And here you can do it in within a matter of 5 to 6 seconds, max 7 seconds. That there you will be saving a lot of seconds, and that can be utilized for any other difficult numerical which requires a lot of mathematical calculation. So here is another numerical again on your conceptual thing, the quantization of charge. A conductor has 14.4 into 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb positive charge. So it is positively charged, which means electrons have been removed. There is a shortage of electrons. Please remember that. The conductor has, what is the charge? So it is 9 electrons in excess. No, it cannot be excess. So 27 electrons in excess. No, it cannot be excess, because the positive, it is a positively charged particle. So there has to be a shortage. So it has to be either of these, because both of them have a shortage answer. So what is your formula? Q is equal to N times E. So Q is given, we need to find out N. So therefore what will be N equal to? N is equal to Q divided by E. So N is equal to, what is the total charge? It is 14.4 into 10 to the power of minus 19 whole divided by 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. Let us shift the decimals. If you shift the decimals, it will be 144. Since we are shifting it to the right, the power of 10 decreases by one number, because I am shifting one decimal. So 10 to the power of minus 19 whole divided by, again I am shifting to the right, so it has to be 16 into the power of 10 decreases by how much? It decreases by 1, because I am shifting one decimal place. So into 10 to the power of minus 19. So all these powers get cancelled. 16 times 1 and 16 times 9 is 144. You should know the tables really well. So N is equal to 9 electrons in short, because the object is positively charged, which means electrons have been removed from it. As simple as that. Well, this is again a very simple numerical, but then if you do not know what do you mean by an alpha particle, then yes, this is a numerical where you can do it really quickly within 5 seconds, and you have all 55 seconds for us another numerical. Okay, charge on alpha particle is, so the options are given. You must know what's an alpha particle. Alpha particle is nothing but helium. Helium has He24, so it has basically mass number 4 and atomic number 2, which means it has 2 protons. So where 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Okay, 2 protons plus 2 neutrons. Neutrons basically do not have any charge, chargeless particles. So there are 2 number, N is 2 positively charged particles. And we know the charge, you have to calculate the charge. Q is equal to N times E. So N is 2, E we already know, which is 1.6 into 10 to the power of minus 19. So 16 times 2 is 32, but you have a decimal after one digit, so decimal after one digit. from the left. So 10 to the power of minus 19 coulomb is the charge. So yes, this is the answer. As simple as that. We did not even require 5 seconds. If you know it has 2 protons, you can directly multiply 16 times 2 is 32 and you can just tick it off. You could do it in a couple of seconds and save a lot of time. Well, this is a very, very interesting conceptual numerical. The answer may seem very obvious, but it is not, trust me. So two similarly charged bodies. What do you mean by two similarly charged bodies? So you have 2 point charges which are either positively charged or negatively charged. So there is same charge on both the bodies. So let's take a point charge A and a point charge B. They're both positively charged or negatively charged, let's say. So both of them are positively charged and both of them are equally negatively charged. They're similarly charged. Okay. Now, they're similarly charged. So what will happen when they are similarly charged? They only attract each other. We know that it cannot attract two similarly charged bodies. Like charges don't attract each other. No, this is wrong. This option is wrong. Only repel each other. Looks like it, because we know like bodies repel each other. Looks like it, maybe. Okay, let's see the other options before deciding on it. May attract or repel each other. Okay, let's see. Neither attract nor repel each other, which is absolute rubbish. It has to either attract or repel or do both. So if you think the answer is this and you say, why have they asked such a naive question, and you just take only repel each other, you are doing it wrong, because we have learned charging by induction plays a role when you bring two bodies together. So when you bring body A and body B, both are positively charged bodies. So what happens? These positive and positive charges which are closest to each other, they start repelling away. So the positive charges get collected on one side, on the rear side, and the negative charges come and align on this side. So what happens here? The positive charges remain on this body and these negative charges go on the other side, repelling, creating an attraction here and creating an attraction here. So because of repulsion, these move away. So these repel and there is repulsion as well as attraction. So the right answer to this is may attract or repel each other. Where is the attraction? The attraction is here between the negative and the positive charge, and the repulsion is between the positive and the positive charge. So the right answer is C, may attract or repel each other. So see, these type of conceptual tricky questions will generally be asked in your entrance examination. Well, again, time for another very important conceptual numerical conceptual entrance exam question. So which is consider a neutral conducting sphere A. Okay, let's a sphere. Okay, it's a neutral conducting sphere. So it has equal number of positive and negative charges. So what is the charge on the sphere? Initial charge on the sphere is assumed to be 0 because it is neutral. Now what are you doing? You are bringing a positive point charge. A positive point charge is placed outside the sphere. So you bring a positive point charge plus Q outside the sphere. You bring it close to the sphere. Outside the sphere in the sense you bring it a little closer. Okay. Now outside the sphere, not on the surface of the sphere. The net charge on the sphere will now be, what will happen to the net charge? They are saying the net charge on this will be negative and it is distributed all over the sphere. Okay. And then it says negative but only appears to the closest end on the positive charge. Okay. And it also says negative and distributed non-uniformly over the surface of this entire sphere, or still the charge on sphere A remains 0. Now what is the concept that you're going to use here? It is very obvious. We are going to use charge redistribution, or in other words it is charging by induction. So when you bring them closer and they're not conducting or not in contact with each other, obviously because of the positive charge, although there are equal number of negative and positive charges inside, because the initial charge on this is 0, the negative charges do get attracted and come and accumulate on the surface close to charge plus Q. So since it had equal number of positive and negative charges, the same number of positive charges which were here, they will come and start accumulating on this side, on the other rear side, because these will face repulsion. So due to repulsion, they move away. Due to attraction, they come closer. But will that change the charge on this? No, you're not adding anything, right? You're not adding anything, you're not removing anything. No electrons have been removed or no electrons have been added to it to either make it positively charged or negatively charged, as mentioned here. Or there is no non-uniform distribution. It is only the charge rearranged. Rearranging the charges or redistribution of charges happens inside the surface of the sphere, on the surface of the sphere, due to laws like repulsive forces, and like charges repel and unlike charges generally attract. But the total net charge, even after bringing the positive charge, still remains zero only, because it has equal number of positive and negative charges redistributed in a different way. So the answer is D. Okay, so do not get confused when they try to trick you with such questions. It is very easy. Make sure your fundamentals are really strong. For that, you have to follow my videos, watch the theory, watch. That is why I stress on a lot of concepts. There was no need for me to do a separate video on charging by induction, but I did, because these are very core concepts that you must know in order to solve any conceptual questions coming in your entrance examinations. A very important conceptual numerical again on electric force. A metallic sphere having no net charge is placed near a finite metal plate carrying a positive charge. So you have a metallic sphere here, which is the net charge is zero because it's neutral. It's not carrying any charge. But you bring a finite metal plate which is charged positive. That means you have removed some electrons from this positive metal plate. The electric force on the sphere will be towards the plate, away from the plate, parallel to the plate, or zero. So what will happen to the electric force? So we know, since you are bringing the positive charges here, although it has got equal number of negative and positive charges, since the net charge on the sphere is zero, due to attraction, the electrons tend to come and collect on this right side, on this side closer to the metal plate, and the positive charges tend to collect on the other side of the sphere on the rear. So although the total charge still remains zero, but they're not talking about the charge on the sphere. If they're talking about the total charge on the sphere, again, even in this case, even after bringing the metal plate closer, the charge would be zero. But what will happen to the force? Will it experience a force towards the plate, away from the plate, or parallel to the plate, or it won't experience any force at all, which will be zero? It will certainly experience some attractive force. The repulsive force, because of the repulsive force, they want to go away from it, but they cannot escape unless you give a connection and leave it to earth, where all these excess electrons would flow, or all the excess electrons from the earth would flow to it, because they get attracted and electrons start flowing, and the entire sphere becomes electrically negatively charged. So we have discussed all this in very much detail in our theory video on charging by induction, but here let's just answer the question. So what will happen? Certainly it will experience a attractive force. The electrons want to jump out of the sphere and go and collect on the metal plate, but which is not possible. They can't really escape out unless both of them are in contact, or unless both of them are connected by a metallic wire. So therefore, obviously, the electric force is towards the plate. They experience electrical force towards the plate, and all this you understand very clearly, and you will be able to answer if you have understood charging by induction really well. Well, another very interesting numerical on Coulomb's force. You don't need to even calculate. You can directly say the answer. But for the sake of calculating it, for those who do not understand, we'll calculate it. So there are two positive charges, 1 microcoulomb and 5 microcoulomb. So Q1, Q2 are given, right? And the ratio of the forces acting between them are, let's assume the distance of separation to be R. Now, okay. So let's calculate F1. So assuming between Q1 and Q2, so K into Q1 into Q2, that is 1 microcoulomb, 1 into 10 to the power of minus 6 into how much is it, 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 whole divided by, we do not know the distance R, let's keep it as R square. Similarly, F2 will be equal to same K into what is the first charge, that is 5 microcoulomb. So it just gets reversed, 5 microcoulomb into 1 microcoulomb whole divided by R square. Now you need to know the ratio between the two charges. F1 divided by F2 will be simply equal to K into 1 times 5 is 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 will be minus 12 whole divided by r square whole divided by, this will be k into 5 into 1 is 5, 10 power minus 6 is 10 power minus 12 whole divided by r square, this and this and this and this. Everything gets cancelled, leaving the ratio to be 1. So F1 is equal to F2. In other words, 1 is to 1 is the ratio. So the answer is B. You do not calculate, you can directly tell the answer. If you have solved such numericals, it will be really easy. Unless there was a condition, that what will be the second force when, double the charge or you add the charge. There's no such condition. They are the same charges. The distance of separation remains the same. So obviously the, force 1 and force 2 have to be equal. So the obvious answer was 1 is to 1. So it is as simple as that. This would require not even a second to answer it. You could just tick it. Well, as usual, this is another very interesting numerical, but then along with concept, you have numbers here. So let's try to solve it. The force between two charges, they're not mentioned. You can assume to be Q1 and Q2 is 0.06 meter apart. Okay, they were 0.06 meter apart, and the force is given to be 5 Newton. If each charge is moved toward the other, so which means you are reducing the distance, so that the new distance becomes 0.04 meters. So earlier it was 0.06, it is now 0.02. It has been moved a little bit closer. Then the new force will become, you have to calculate the new force. So let's write the formula. F1 is equal to, K into, so initially I'll tell you, for those who have not understood, initially this was the situation, Q1, Q2, R1 was the distance, okay. Now it is the same Q1, Q2, they've been moved closer. So R2 is the distance of separation, right? So for this, let's write the formula. F1 will be K into Q1, Q2 divided by R1 square. Similarly, F2 will be equal to K into Q1, Q2 is the same divided by R2 square. It is the distance that changes. You have to figure out the new force. So instead of taking by F2 by F1, I will take it as F2 by F1. Instead of F1 by F2, I'm taking it as F2 by F1 because we have to calculate the new force. So what is the formula for new force? It is K into Q1, Q2 whole divided by R2 square. Now this whole divided by K Q1, Q2 whole divided by R1 whole square. Now this becomes reverse if you cross multiply. K into Q1, Q2 divided by R2 square multiplied by R1 square whole divided by K Q1 Q2. So K Q1 Q2, K Q1 Q2 gets cancelled. What you remain with is R1 whole square divided by R2 the whole square. Now these are given. What is R1? Well, now F2 by F1 is equal to R1 square. So F2 divided by F1 is equal to R1 square. R1 is 0.06 square whole square divided by R2 square, which is 0.04 the whole square. F1 is given as 5 Newton. You can cross multiply 5 Newton here. So therefore F2 will be equal to 5 into, now let's shift the decimal to the right. So this will be 6 into 10 to the power of, since you are shifting to the right, the decimal decreases, meaning you have to write a minus sign or a negative power. How many negative power? How much should be the index? So it has to be 2 because we are shifting 2 decimal places, whole power, all divided by, again same thing here, you are shifting to the right, it has to be 4 into 10 to the power of minus 2 the whole square. So 10 power minus 2, let's simplify this part. I'll give you some time and then I'll reveal the answer. I hope you are able to do it. If not, here's the reveal. So F2 is equal to 5 times. So if you square it, it becomes 36 into 10 to the power of minus 2 whole square. It will be 10 to the power of minus 4 whole divided by 4 square is 16 into 10 to the power of minus 4. 10 power minus 4, 10 power minus 4 gets cancelled. 2 8s are 16 and 2 1s are 2, 2 18s are 2 4s are 8 and 2 9s are 18. So it is 5 times 9 is 45. So it has to be 45 divided by 4. So 45 divided by 4 will be 4 times 1 is 4. So 0 again, 4 times 1 is 4. So it is 1. If you keep a dot decimal, so 4 times 5 is 10. So the answer is 11.5 Newton, that is your new force. Yes. Should have been 11.5. I don't know, where did we go wrong? Did we go wrong anywhere? No, it has to be 11.4. So it is, looks like there is a mistake. So it is closer to this. So we will take this. It has to be 11.5 Newton. Well, this is a very fabulous question. So the charges on two spheres are plus 7 microcoulomb minus 5 microcoulomb. So there is force of attraction between them. They experience a force. Yep, fair enough. So if each one of them is given an additional charge of minus 2 microcoulomb, so you are adding more electrons. So that means here to the positively charged, you are adding more electrons. To the negatively charged, already negatively charged, you are giving it more negative charge. So what will be the new force of attraction? Simple. Okay, let's first do the first one for the first force, where these are the charges. So F1 will be equal to, you have K into Q1 is 7 microcoulomb, 7 into 10 power minus 6 into 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 microcoulomb whole divided by R square. We do not know the separation. You have some force. So what will be the new force now? Let's calculate the new charges. So the new charges, Q1 dash will be, it is already 7 microcoulomb. Okay, you are adding minus 2 microcoulomb to it. So what will be the new charge? The new charge is going to be plus 5 microcoulomb. What will happen to the second charge? Q2 dash will be, it has minus 5 microcoulomb. You are adding again minus 2 microcoulomb. Minus and minus gets added. You have minus 7 microcoulomb. So let's substitute it here. So your initial for the second, where you add minus 2 to 7, it will become 5. So 5 into 10 to the power of minus 6 multiplied by, you have, this becomes minus 7. So 7 into 10 to the power of minus 6 whole divided by R square. So what will be the new force? The new force is going to be same. F1 divided by F2 will be K into 7 times 5 is 35 into 10 power minus 6, 10 power minus 6 is 10 to the power of minus 12 whole divided by R square, that is whole divided by K into 7 5s are 35, 35 into 10 to the power of minus 6 minus 12 divided by R square, K, 35, 35. 10 power minus 12, 10 power minus 12 gets cancelled. So F1 is equal to F2 is equal to F. So the force remains the same. So the answer is F. It is very simple. If you have already solved such numericals, you do not need to calculate. You can directly answer such questions where you could solve a lot of time. So the last numerical for today's session, a very interesting numerical to end the class. Two charges of equal magnitude, so they have equal magnitude. Q1 and Q2 can be called Q because the magnitude is equal at a distance r, so they are separated by a distance r. They exert a force F on each other, fair enough. If the charges are halved, so now the new charges, what you are going to do, earlier the charge was Q, now you are having the new charges, so Q1 dash is equal to Q2 dash will be now equal to half of the earlier charge, and the distance between them is doubled. So R was the earlier distance, now your new distance R dash will be, it is going to be doubled, so 2 times the initial distance of separation. So then the new force acting on the charge. So the ratios are given. It's a very beautiful mathematics. Let's do it. So let's write the Coulombian force of attraction for the earlier charge Q and the distance of separation R. So that will be, since both the charges are Q into Q will be Q square divided by R square. So this is your initial force. What will be the second force when you change the charges, you halve the charges, so the charges are halved. So Q by 2 whole square divided by, distance is doubled, so that will be 2 times 2r the whole square. So this will be K Q square divided by 4 whole divided by 4r square divided by 1. So if this goes to the numerator, it gets inverted. So this will be K Q square divided by 4 into 1 divided by 4r square. So what will that be? That is nothing but K Q square divided by 16r square. Yeah, so this is equal to F2. F2 is equal to this much. Now this can be rewritten as, let's write F2 as, F2 will be equal to 1 by 16 into K q square divided by r square. So I'm just rearranging, I'm taking 1 by 16 out. But what is kq by r square? Kq by r square is f1, we have called it as f1 by 16. So f2 is the initial 116 times the initial force. So here is the answer. So it is 1 by 16th of the initial force. It was pure mathematics, a little bit of physics. So I hope you enjoyed today's session along with me. Like, follow and subscribe to Kalike. I guess we will be taking one more session or a couple more sessions of entrance examination questions on Coulomb's law and electric force before we head to theory backup.